special edition today. It's a little different. January 10th, this year, National Quitters Day. What's that all about? It turns out the second Friday in January is now a thing, that by then most people have quit their New Year's resolutions. Also, we have Laurel Jones on. Now, I'm not saying she's a quitter, right? She's actually, we're elevating her at my gym at Unbreakable Athletics. She's in charge of CrossFit, and she's helping out and running operations. So she's absolutely the opposite of a quitter. So we want to know a little bit more about her. And we want to make sure that those that listen and those that have challenges, they have goals and dreams and hopes for this year. One of the points of the show is to help you build yourself up mentally and physically. It's athlete builder, right? So we want you to be the best version of yourself. So we're going to use this episode to learn more about Laurel and walk her through the process that we utilize on building people up when they're doing goal setting for the year. And we waited till after January 1st. So it's not those New Year's resolution, folks, because unless you're starting right on that day and you don't, the other 364 days of the year, like, what do? You got to wait a year to start? No. So we're going to start right now and go through that as well. So that's the whole point of today's show. We're going to get into Laurel. She CrossFitter because a horse kicked her ass, and now she's a level 2 CrossFitter, and she likes to compete. So Laurel Jones, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Have you done many of these?
No.
No.
Actually, not one. Never done a podcast.
But your husband's a media guy too, though, right? Film,
I've been on
pictures.
Video. Yeah, I've been on video plenty, just not in this setting.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what happened with the horse? Tell us how you went from A to B to C, and here you are with us at Unbreakable.
Yeah, so growing up, I was competitive with horses. I had a horse since I was 13, trained her from the ground up. She was completely green, had never been ridden. And it was my responsibility to take care of her completely, financially, train her, compete if I wanted, but it had to be all me. So, I was just riding her one day. We'd been training for 4 hours. We would train for only a couple of hours at a time. So it was already a different day. Been training her for 4 hours. Took the saddle off, was riding bareback just to cool down, have some fun with my friends. I had a couple other girls that trained with me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be fun for a second and run with her, make her run. And I didn't have a saddle on. I would do that all the time, but she was done. So she bucked and I flew off the front of her, landed on the fence because it was like we were about to turn around in the arena. Flew onto the fence and hit my neck. So I was immediately unconscious, rolled onto the ground, happened so fast. My horse, her name was Callie. Callie tried to dodge stepping on me and got my arm. And so she completely shattered this elbow. So it was like I don't even know, how many breaks? I think 8 different sections of my arm that were just completely torn up. So it was like broken here, compound fracture, shatter here, couple breaks here, fracture in my wrist, and broke 3 fingers. So I was laying on the ground unconscious, and my friend, all she had seen was me landing on my neck on the fence and my horse stepping on my arm. So they called the ambulance and I couldn't move for about a day. I was pretty much like paralyzed. It was terrifying for me and for my parents. And from there, it was a whirlwind of 6 months, just kind of physical therapy. I took like 2 months off from school. My body had just been through so much trauma.
Dang.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then I quit sports. Doctors were like, no more contact sports for you. Just because my elbow was completely reconstructed. It's mostly metal. It doesn't straighten all the way. So that affects me in CrossFit competitions, but it's fine. I make it work. So that changed really the trajectory of my life because I went to physical therapy and learned how awesome it was to have somebody help you in a time with a lot of trauma happening and just things happening in the brain and in my body that I'd never been used to before. And so that was when I was like, I want to get in the helping field somehow. So I did that. And then, from there, I just healed up for like a year and quit sports and lived life through high school. But I continued competing with horses. My first words in the hospital afterwards was, hey, when can I get back on Callie?
Dang. So they didn't blame the horse, obviously. You said you ran it too hard, too long.
Right. It was my fault.
It was fatigued. And no more contact sports, but you could ride the horse, right?
Right.
Why the disconnect?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember.
Okay.
I yeah, I don't and I played basketball before that and I was a decent player and I'm very tall. You know this about me, Jim. I'm 6 feet tall
Mm-hmm.
and I was tall then too. So I was good at it, but I think I was a little bit burnt out anyway and I wasn't sure if I wanted to play sports. And so I didn't really look that far into it at that time. I think I regretted it later. I still do sometimes.
Gotcha.
Um, so yeah.
What would you tell the teenage you post injury, knowing what you know now about rehabbing a body, injuries, etc.?
What would I tell myself? That's a good question. Man, stay consistent. You know, I would get discouraged in school. I was like so embarrassed about it that I wouldn't like, I don't know. I was supposed to be doing things halfway through the school day to like move my arm and I was scared to. I don't know why.
Sure.
I think just the social aspect of things.
Gotcha.
And just you can find other ways to have fun even when you're recovering from an injury. Like don't completely stop your life. I stopped my life. I watched a lot of TV, ate a lot of ice cream.
Would you tell yourself to still try other sports?
Oh, I so wish I would have. I
Yeah.
wish I would have been like, all right, let's take this time to restart. And if I can't play contact sports, find something else or look into it more. I should have looked into it more,
Gotcha.
you know? Yeah.
But you don't, life always gives you the test and then the lesson, right? Not the lesson first and then the test. So one of the chapters in my book is The Gift of Injury. And it's a title of another book that I read, but it's, how do you apply that injury to building yourself up as an athlete in other areas, right? Whether it's your nutrition or your recovery or just assessing why you made the mistake, right? So if you can utilize it, then you turn that event and you grow through it versus just kind of like you said, sitting around watching TV, eating ice cream, and then took a little while later, matured some more, and you're like, man, I want a barbell in my hand. I want to start lifting. I want to start doing some things. So was that when you were in college? You started getting into CrossFit?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me about that. Like, you know what? I'm going to the gym and I'm going to do this. How was that decision? How'd that formulate? How'd that happen?
Yeah. So I started CrossFit my junior year of college. And a couple years before that, I started running with some friends, but I just found running by itself to be so boring. I know some people love it and I
Mm,
appreciate it a lot. And I appreciated those couple of years that I ran before that. And I told myself I'm 6 feet tall. I'll probably be a good distance runner, but I get so bored. So there was something at my school at college. They called it Royal Fit. Um, I don't remember why, but that's what they called it. But it was CrossFit.
okay.
And I went to a class one day. I was absolutely terrified because I hadn't really moved much outside of running since my accident. And that was probably 7 years earlier. So, yeah, I just jumped into a class one day and I was like, this is fun. I'll come back. Even though I felt like I was dying. I think we did wall balls in flight. We ran flights of stairs and did wall balls that day.
Nice.
Yeah, it crushed my soul, but I was like, oh, I feel so good after. And so I went back the next day and I started making friends. And then we all hung out that weekend. And then one of them was really strong and was like 5'10",
Mm,
also tall, and a girl. And
mm.
I was like, oh, she is so fit. And she didn't play any other sports. She just did CrossFit. She'd been doing it since she was in high school. And I was like, I could do this. And yeah, she also just was, I don't know, she's just a very driven person. I was like, I could see myself being that way. And so I jumped into it and never looked back. And then it got me, what kept me going even from there was grad school. It was a very stressful time for me. And so I got even more into it in grad school. It kind of was my self-care.
Mm.
So, and then I just realized how much it would help me focus in life, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Endorphin released, cortisol levels
Yes.
impacted, right? Clarity, brain fog, it's a stressor, but actually is a anti-stressor for you because your brain's doing so much work. Your body's helping balance that out. So that's an outstanding. And that's, when you listen to Greg Glassman, when he's talking about why CrossFit, he wanted people to be healthier mentally and physically, right? He he wanted them to be games athletes.
Right.
He wants them well-rounded so they can handle life. And here you
Hmm.
are using general fitness to handle life, because it turns out movement makes you just simply just feel better, right?
Yeah,
The
truly.
the I went to Zach Evanesh's clinic, or underground strength cons, what he called it, out there in New Jersey and New York a few months back, and we're sitting for 3 hours, right, in the morning, and getting ready to have lunch. And he goes, "All right, everybody up, push up position, and it's 5 shoulder tap push ups, 5 squats, and 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1." And people just kind of look at each other. So we're doing it, like we're obedient, and then we do some shoulder work and some rowing, and the whole thing took like 6, 7 minutes. And he goes, "How do you feel?" And we're like, "Oh, we feel so much better." Yeah, you've been sitting there, and now you got some blood flow and some movement. Now your body feels better just from a 6, 7 minute warm up right before you go have lunch. He's like, "That's the point. That's what we're talking about. Movement helps people do better things." What did you study in school? What's your degrees in? What was your profession going to be? What was it for a while?
So I went to undergrad and grad school to be a counselor, mental health counselor. That
Mm,
was the trajectory that I saw my life going in that direction for years. So I went to undergrad for it, went through grad school. I'm the kind of person that I easily just like to check boxes. So I'm like,
mm.
I want to do this, I'll do that. Like, I want to be a counselor. All right, I'll go to undergrad for it. All right, I'll do grad school for it. Like, it didn't feel like a huge decision to me, but I'm no longer in that field, as you know.
What? And this is a pretty fun part of the story, I think, for me. After I found this out about you, what happened? Where'd you go next, and why?
Well, I moved to Florida after I was in Tennessee for 7 years, did school there, grad school there, moved to Florida, opened up a counseling center because I couldn't find a place I would love to work. My faith is very important to me. And in the counseling field, they're very picky, about how you handle that. And so I opened up a faith-based practice. Figured clients would come to me assuming that that would be a part of the counseling process. So yeah, I started counseling, but I felt suffocated just in the mental health field in general. I had also immediately joined a CrossFit gym when I moved to Florida, and I started coaching pretty much a month in. I started coaching at that gym, or no, it was a couple months in because I went and got my L1. That was when I got my L1 certification to coach CrossFit. So at that point, I was coaching CrossFit, doing counseling, and then I just started feeling so suffocated in the field. It's so rigid. There are so many lines that are drawn for you, and you have to stay in that path. And I did not feel like I was helping anyone.
Mm.
I felt like clients were coming in every day, and I would be encouraging them. Like, if someone came in and was experiencing anxiety or depression, one of my first prescriptions for them would be go on a walk. Like, just go on a walk every day, get your body moving. Because most of the time they were living very like lifestyles that were not helping. And so I would do that. Clients wouldn't do it. People weren't coming in actually wanting to help themselves. It was so frustrating. And then I'm just sitting in an office with them not helping. So I enjoyed CrossFit a lot. The owner of coaching CrossFit, the owner of the CrossFit gym I was going to, stepped away. He was just burnt out and wanted to find a different career path. But the gym I was at was searching. They were like, we don't want to close down. We were like, we don't want to close down. What do we do to stay open? And it was like a unanimous vote. They took a vote on which of the coaches they wanted to take over the gym. And I took over. So yeah, I ran that CrossFit gym for a couple of years before I moved back to Indiana. And it was the best decision. Actually, the main thing that made me switch my career path was my husband he booked me an Airbnb. He could tell I was burnt out in counseling. And he was like, Laurel, I'm booking you an Airbnb. You need to go stay in this Airbnb for 4 days. And I'll come with you if you want, or you can go alone. But I prefer you go alone. Just figure out what you want to do with your life. Do you want to coach CrossFit, or do you want to do counseling for a living? I stayed in this Airbnb for 4 days by myself, spent some time at the beach, got a massage, journaled, read a book. I think I read 2 books actually. And I came back and I was like, I'm running a CrossFit gym. I'm not doing counseling anymore. So here we are.
Here we are. Driven and with purpose. So would you argue that your way to help reach people therapeutically is through health and wellness? Also, there's the mental piece that goes along with that. But is that fulfilling that internal need of helping people improve themselves? Is this it?
Yes. Way more than I ever would have imagined. I never would have imagined myself in high school thinking I wouldn't have imagined myself as a CrossFit coach.
Right.
But it checks every box of what fills me up.
Awesome.
Like, people come in to a gym because they want to move and they want to learn how to move well. And they're coming in ready to be inspired. And those were the things I was trying to push people to do, and they weren't doing it. And so in the setting in a gym, it just, yeah, it does it. It like fills me up seeing people learning what their bodies are capable of that they never thought they could do. Yeah.
That's fun.
Pretty special.
I love when they see that. For me, the juice is when they have those mental PRs and fears go away. They can handle things. They can handle some weight. They can handle some pain and suffering. They can handle some conflict, and that just translates in so many other ways. And that's my favorite thing. A distant second is a heavy squat or a heavy sled push, but when they can handle life that way, that's probably my favorite thing. So you added your level 2, right? And then you're still training as an athlete, and you like to do local comps as well, right?
Yes. Yes,
Awesome.
I do. Mm-hmm.
What are some of your favorite movements?
I would say I'm tall.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the weightlifting movements, it took me a while to really love, but now they are my favorite. So clean and jerk is my number one favorite. I love clean and jerks. Second would be wall balls. Said no one ever, except for me.
And then rowing.
And rowing. Oh, and I love box jumps too. So I would say those are my top, four
There
movements.
you go. All right.
Yep.
On the one of the, with all my guests, I send out some homework so I can helps me prepare. And on the note on discipline, you said, I thought I always had it until I was pregnant and had my daughter. Then I realized what discipline truly means as an athlete, mom, and human, and how essential it is. What was the lesson? What happened? What was the epiphany that, oh, shoot, man, I'm not quite where I need to be?
So before I was pregnant with her, I was pretty automatically good at the things that I would pick up in the gym.
Oh, I hate people like that.
I know. It was like, oh, you want to do pull-ups? Okay, let's do pull-up progressions for a couple of months and you'll get them. It took me a while to actually get pull-ups, but I picked up the lifting movements really quickly. Like weightlifting, even though I want to be stronger, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about that in a little bit, but the technique of it, I picked up very quickly. And I was fast. I'm very fast. I have a pretty good engine. I would call myself probably an intermediate athlete, but I have a pretty good engine. I can move quickly for a while. But when I got pregnant, that all went out the door. Like, I lost my upper body strength by the second trimester. And then after I had her, postpartum was so difficult for me because I couldn't squat like at all.
Sure. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I couldn't like run. I couldn't jump. Like, the things that used to come easy to me were gone. And so then I was like, all right, I have a choice. I can either quit this and just kind of like, go on walks or runs again, or I need to jump back in. At the same time, my husband and I moved back to Indiana to be around family. That's when I joined Unbreakable. But that was in the season where I was like the weakest that I've ever been in my entire life, probably before I even started CrossFit. So the discipline side of it was, at some point you have to make a decision for yourself. Like, you have this trajectory of your life. What do you want it to look like? Especially after you have a kid, it just changes so much. Like, and so I told myself, I am not enjoying this at all right now, but I'm going to go anyway, because I know that I'm going to need it one day. And I know my daughter is going to need to see me doing it. So I did. I joined the gym again and I got back into it, and I just went every day. I told myself, you just have to step into the gym doors. The coaches will tell you what to do from there, and you'll get back into it. So the discipline part of it was, I told myself every day, just step in the gym doors, just get into the gym. And then, you'll take it from there.
We call that greasing the groove. Can you just get a little bit of momentum here? My dad would say the hardest part for him was putting his tennis shoes on, because once those are on, then he's moving forward with that. That there's Jocko's phrase is now basically immortalized everywhere. The discipline equals freedom, and that whole equation rings true with what you just said. That if you weren't going to be disciplined, you were going to lose some freedoms. You weren't going to be in the shape that you were. You want to look. You'll look differently. Definitely not as strong. And then how you represent yourself and lead your family members, especially your daughter, that all changes, right? And it was the discipline that seemed to have saved you, and it saves everyone, right? If you keep doing the things, it's just the time and consistency thing. It's the hardest sell because I'm like, hey, how long does it take to be really good at CrossFit? I'm like, 2 years at least. And they're like, what? I go, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can give you 60 different movements on squatting alone, so that's 60, right? And there's another 50 movements, so by the time you learn everything, but the point is just to keep going, it'll be just fine, right?
Yes. And going when motivation isn't, everybody's so motivated when they first start something like start CrossFit or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so for me, it used to be so easy for me to be motivated because I was, learning, I had learned pull-ups and I'd learned chest bar and I'd learned bar muscle ups and I'd learned, like I was like reaching a lot of goals. And so the discipline part of it was when the motivation was gone and I had to figure out how to go anyway. And there's such a difference there that I think people have to realize in their fitness journey that, okay, Laurel, what do you do when I'm not, like, how do you keep moving when you're not motivated? You just keep moving. Like, you just do it.
Well, that's why it's the greatest slogan all the time, just do it. And it sure is easy to be disciplined when everyone's having a lot of wins, right? When everything's coming easy.
Yep.
Yeah. So when Jocko says the losing part is when it's hard, right? Winning's easy. The losing part is hard because then you have to go and do things that you're not necessarily loving to do. So do you have a process for creating your own motivation that helps you with your discipline? So I know I'm training 4 days a week, right? But there's some days I'm going to the gym. I don't want to go. I don't feel like going, right? I know what things I do, my little tricks, my little mind games I play to make sure I still make it happen. You got any little tricks or mind games when you're not quite feeling it, but you do it anyways? Yeah.
I set a schedule up for myself. So when I first started coming back, I told myself Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going in Monday, Wednesday. Like when I wrote it down, made a big difference to see it on paper. And because at that point I have to keep myself accountable. Like if it's on paper, I've written it down. That means I've thought it through. I see it. Then I have no other choice. And I am, I guess, maybe that kind of person. Once I make a decision, I do it. So I wrote down the days. I wrote down the days I was going to go, and I told my husband, make me go, even when I'm not feeling it. So yeah, I mean, it was that simple. And then the days that I don't feel, there are a few days where I'm like, I'm not feeling well or fresh. My body's telling me not to move. But otherwise, yeah, I just writing it down, I would say, is the biggest thing that's helped me. And I think it's helped a lot of other people too. Writing it down makes a big difference. It makes the thought turn into an actual action.
Sure. One of the great tools I picked up along the way was once I had this goal in mind, and we'll talk about this later, I had this goal in mind, right? Then I have a target date. You got to write out the next 3 steps that must occur. And hopefully one is like today, right? Yeah. So that you do that and you start building momentum. And then when you schedule those steps, it's not like, all right, I need to work out 3 days a week. All right, I'm done doing my goal setting. See you later. You didn't finish that piece. What days of the week? What times? How does that impact the rest of your life? And so you have to work through all those things so you set yourself up for success. And if there's barriers or friction in the way, you take care of that. So you go to your husband, teammate, and say, hey, this is what's happening. These are on these days. And you get support from your teammate. Sure is a lot easier. If he says, hey, what the hell are you doing, man? You're gone 4 nights. This is bullshit. Well, now we got some things to work out, right?
Yep.
And when you got kids going to classes or practices and you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 6 kids, like I got, right? You got to start working some things out, but it's still the same process. Nothing changes there, right?
Yep.
I like my coaches coaching me. I'll ask them to cue me if they haven't seen me yet. Talk about being humble and seeking coaching. Like the guy that just won the national title with Ohio State, Jeremiah, he says, like, I want to be coached hard. And a lot of kids don't. A lot of people don't. But you're like, I want to be coached. Like, fix me, get me better, find my little mistakes. So talk about that as an athlete and as a coach.
Yeah. Okay. We have this running joke in my family that if I could make a career out of being a student, I would. I love learning. I loved like college. I loved grad school. Like learning is already just kind of like who I am as a person. So and especially when I become a coach, whenever I'm working out, I want eyes on my movement. I've also seen how much a person can progress once they have little tweaks here and there, especially when you've been in a sport, like when I've been in CrossFit for a certain amount of time, you kind of start to get ignored because they think you're good and your movement looks good. And I'm like, yeah, but I could get 5 more pounds on that lift. Like, so anyway, so like learning is just a part of who I am. And so as a coach, I think it's even more important. The people that I respect too most in life are the ones who are wanting to constantly learn. Like I think the coaches that I have most respected in my time doing CrossFit have been the ones who are the most interested in learning themselves. I think that there's just a value in that that's really it's huge. I don't know. I want to be coached by someone who's going to coach me and not just ignore me because I move well, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So if I'm in a CrossFit class and I'm doing a clean and jerk and I've done clean and jerks and they've seen me, like I've done them for 8 years now, and this coaching class has seen me do it a million times, I still want them to watch me. So I'll say, hey, can you come watch this lift?
Yeah.
Or, hey, like something's not feeling right. I'll have them look at it consistently because there's always room for improvement. The people that have been at this for way longer than I am are getting coached. So you better believe I'm going to too.
That's kind of that's a social dynamic there. If you have someone that's brand new and you take a movement like squatting, 2 or 3 tweaks, and that could take them a couple months to ingrain those 2 or 3 tweaks, and they'll progress in big ways.
Oh yeah.
With those basics, right? And those are like, I don't have to be intelligent at all. They're the most basic things, right? If you're someone and at the highest level, if you're a 1,100 pound squatter and they have those, and you're trying to go to 12, well, shit, man. Not a lot of people can do that. So that takes some real high level expertise to how do you progress that guy from 1,100 to 1,200, right? And so that's when the coaching is even more required with the better athletes. But what you'll see in a social dynamic, whether it's a school teacher or a coach, and they'll see the ones that are struggling more, they'll spend more time with them and less time with your own kids at home or your own kids in school or the kids on your team, and they say, well, that person's already good, I don't need to help them as much. And we just learned that's not the case. So it's very, very challenging. So if you find a coach that takes the whole team, wherever they're at different levels, and they can progress them all consistently, that is outstanding. That's outstanding work, and that's one of the things you try to do. And you got to guard against being complacent when you're in that role too. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's tough to coach people too that have been at it for longer than you. I remember when I first started coaching, and I was like, I don't want to cue him. He's been doing this for way longer than me. But just step into it.
That's some imposter syndrome right there. Like you're just because you haven't done it as much doesn't mean there's value, right?
Right.
You're still going to see things that are off, and it's not the things that are off with you or me or someone else. It's still going to be off with everybody. We just interviewed this Olympic weightlifter, and she was, in the Olympics, and she's like, I'm still fighting the same drills that you fight, keeping the bar close to me on a snatch or a clean and jerk. Gets out in front, having a good setup, a good start. It's still the same issues. I still need to be cued on those things. So if you're sound in the fundamentals and you have a high level person in front of you, they still need correction on the fundamentals, and that's okay. The challenge can come that some are more or less coachable, as you know, than others, right? There's those that, hey, you can't coach me, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're female, or you're too young, or whatever, right? And so That's always a challenge, right? And no matter where you're at, you come across that, and if you have, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. I come across that a good amount.
Okay.
I do it anyway. Whenever somebody is, well, you can only put so much energy into someone who is completely rejecting your coaching.
Agreed.
However, whenever I've come across it, I'll give them a cue. They'll say, okay. And usually what I find the most frustrating it's not the person that's going to argue in it in that moment. It's the person that's like, okay, and they act like they take it. And then I walk away and I look and see them in this, peripheral.
Right.
And I see them not doing the thing. And that's where, when I went to my L2, they, my training for my L2, they just like drilled into us the idea of relentlessness. Like, just be relentless. And if they take it, great. If not, that's on them. So I'll go back up to someone and I'll say, hey, I just told you to push your knees out. I didn't see you pushing your knees out. Let's work on it together. And I'll do it with them. And usually I'll try a tactile cue. So if it's in a squat and they need to have their knees tracking with their toes, and they're not tracking with their toes, knees are going in. All right, I'm going to get a PVC. I'm going to put it right next to their knee. I'm going to have them push out on the PVC. Something that they have no choice but to do that thing.
Sure.
And then if they still don't do it, that's on them. So that's usually what I'll do. I have visual cues, verbal, visual, and tactile. And I'll go to tactile at that point, usually if somebody's not really listening to me.
You want to make sure you ask, hey, are you able to push your knee out?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
if I'm correcting you and your right elbow isn't straight on a press, I'm like, what the hell's going on here, man? And you got, obviously, once you tell me, what also helps if you can create some buy-in, hey, I want your knees to go out, so it keeps them safe. We don't want ACL tears. Knees caving in could lead to that. So if you give them some why behind it. Also, knees out's a stronger position. You can engage your butt more, your ass more, so it's easier to come out of the hole when you're squatting. That's why we're doing this. So, and if you don't want to have long-term knee pain, this is another reason. So if you can get some buy-in that way, and then give them the visual, tactile cues, etc., and they still don't, well, then they're just not going to do it, right? Exactly. So you keep overreaching, and then at some point you go coach someone else, right?
Yep.
I used to not eat enough protein. Now the simple caloric goal grams per body weight is taking me to the next level. That's about right out of the textbook on quantity of protein. But it's not so much the numbers or the math or the textbook answer. I like the why. So why the switch? I didn't used to do this. Now I do. What happened? Why now? What happened?
I got so tired of not being strong enough. And I don't count calories. I'm not necessarily a calorie counter. I've always just told myself, I eat whole foods.
Yeah.
However, I just wasn't getting stronger for too long. And I don't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody at the gym back in Florida about it. And that was when I really learned the importance of protein. This was a couple of years ago, but, they had me just track my protein for the week. And I did. And I was like getting half of the protein that I needed. I was like, no wonder I'm so tired. And no wonder I'm not lifting more than some measly weight in my squats when I should be lifting a lot more. So I started just learning the portions on my protein, really just kind of like skyrocket. Number one, my energy. It skyrocketed my energy. And number two, it skyrocketed my strength. So I don't think that we focused on that enough in today's society. I think we're starting to a little bit more, but that was the main switch. I just had a conversation with someone and I was like, I tracked it for 1 week and that's all I needed.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
It's great when you have a cause and effect. I did this and these things happen. So then there's, reinforcement. So that's huge. Switching gears, we're already started in 2025. We talked about National Quitters Day, which is a disgusting day. And this year was January 10th, especially since one of the core values of the gym is the word sisu, which means never, ever quit. And it's tattooed on my arm.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
so
important.
When someone said to me the other day, I was like, oh my God, what is happening in this world? And I feel compelled, hey, how do we help people address things? So as you know, book is out. but how do we implement? How do we do things? Words are nice, podcasts are nice, but how do we do things? I'll imagine what you do, right? So then this is now out. That's the planner that goes along with it. So, lab experiment. We got Laurel Jones in here. And the idea is, it's called Athlete Builder. So I hear, well, what if I'm not an athlete? Well, if you're doing anything physical in your life, I look at you as an athlete because you have to do athletic things. Even if you're not like a first responder or whatever, you're doing something physical to handle life. You could be in a car accident or in a fight, whatever. It's also geared towards if you're in a team sport, how do you incorporate those things, right? So you utilize it to whatever you need to, and then you can use the tools as basically as you need, or as intricately as you need, right? So you just keep reapplying the same process, make it harder or easier. So let's dig in deep with Laurel. Do you have any basic goals for 2025? I don't necessarily need to know what they are yet, but do you have any?
Yes.
Yes?
I do.
Okay. Are they physical goals for yourself or for a team or what?
Yep. Physical goals for myself this year.
Gotcha. Well, let me tell you how we came about this process. It's COVID, right? The gym is shut down, and my wife and I were dealing with Jessie Dale, who's outstanding and elite level with nutrition. And she's like, we need to add nutrition to the business, right? So we go through the certifications there, and we learn about his process, and we started learning how to manage people with their nutrition. He puts me on Atomic Habits, and you see all the books behind me. This is just a small fraction. Like, you don't want to talk about continuing education. Girl, I got you for the next 5 years. You won't be able to sit still. I got so much information to pour into you. But you take Jesse's nutrition process and then Atomic Habits process of how do you build things. Shout out Eric Farley for introducing that book as well. And then I start working with Jack and Timmy and the other guys at the gym. They're trying to be college athletes, and then they are. Then I'm like, all right, so what we do is we adjust people's habits week in and week out just on nutrition. Then I'm like, well, there's more to building an athlete. This is like in 2021 and 22. I'm like, there's the mindset. I'm like, what is it? You got to have the mindset, the knowledge, working with teammates, blah, blah, blah. Nutrition, recovery, and training. So I'm like, do you just progress people the same way in all 6 of those areas? Yes.
Okay.
All right. So philosophically, I was like, do you progress people the same way in those other areas on the recovery? I'm like, yeah, you just move the needle consistently, nothing real big moves. So I started putting all this together, and then out comes the book, out comes the planner. Here we are today. So the next thing I do with you, Laura, you're coming in here, we're going to talk about your goals.
Yep.
What are they specifically?
Okay, so I have waited way too long to make this a goal. So It's time.
And everyone's going to hear it or watch it. And I'm blasting it out to everybody. So
this is a big moment for me because that means there's a lot of accountability coming out.
I'm writing it down.
I'm here for it. I brought my notebook and pen too. I am ready.
Let's go, girl.
I'm ready.
Hit me.
I gotta get stronger.
Oh,
so
stronger.
Yep. So, and specifically, like in the gym, a goal for the year, number one, is just lower body strength. So squats, deadlifts, they have always been just like this looming cloud over my head. I'm like a really good athlete, and then I squat this, and I'm like, that's not cool.
What about?
So I have numbers in my head too, but I don't know how far into this you want to go. But yeah, go.
How about upper body?
I do. I have goals there as well. However, they're a little bit different. So my 2 things this year is lower body strength, and then yes, upper body strength is part of it as well. But it's specific. There's a couple specific movements even that I'm wanting to work on in the upper body.
And they are
lower body strength. Bar muscle ups and ring muscle ups.
Gotcha. So the gymnastics piece, that's critical in CrossFit. Yep. Gotcha. Which involves a ton of strength, actually. It's body weight. All right.
That's why it's strength, upper body as well. It's just different. A little bit
Gotcha.
different.
So if I take you to page 9 in the workbook, and you can pull it off if you want, or you don't have to, I'm going to ask you again, why are those your goals?
Okay, well, number one, I think that ultimately my goal is to be a more well-rounded athlete.
Okay.
And those are two areas that they're the two main areas that I find myself lacking in.
Gotcha.
So that's the main reason why I'm going for them. But also just the lower body is just because like that's the foundation. That's what I walk on.
Gotcha. So
And
that's true. So as an athlete or in a relationship or a business, we call that their limiting factor. What's holding them back?
Yep.
Right? And you're saying that's holding you back the most. Why is that important? And you said, well, because it's the foundation, right? And so there's some things you want to do. Why is the foundation? Why are these things that you want to do? Bigger squat. Why is that even important to you? Because if you're already a well-rounded, healthy athlete, I can say, well, who cares? Why do you want to be stronger? Why do you want to have a better base, a better foundation? So that's my next question is why?
Well, number one would be I want to be more competitive.
There, okay.
Yep. So I have a lot of fun competing, and it's what keeps me motivated.
Yep.
And those are the things that I dread when it comes to competing.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I don't like if that's the thing that's holding me back, then no, like let's change it. So
why do you want to be competitive? Why do you want to be competitive?
Because I'm so close to being competitive. Like I'm always in the top fourth, like 1/4 of the rankings, the leaderboard at competitions.
Gotcha.
And so to take it from being just the top 1/4 to being the top 3, that to me, like that's my next step. Like I've reached there, so why not reach the next step?
So the whole point of this exercise right now is I call it the 7 levels of why. So I ask you basically 7 different times why. So I'm going to say, why do you want to get to that next level? And your answer is? See, this is not staged. This is real.
To be more competitive.
Is it I just want to beat people? I want a best version of myself. I want to show that I can. It helps my identity.
I think a lot of it is
It's
I
fun
want to show
smashing people.
I want to show myself that I can.
Okay.
So yeah, one of my limiting factors is that I don't have a super competitive personality. So my goal isn't usually to beat other people. It's more so to beat myself.
Right. That's
to show myself I can do something, and I want something to make me and my husband and daughter. I want them to come and cheer me on and see it happen.
So those are we call those intrinsic, not extrinsic. So beating someone else, getting a title, that's an extrinsic goal, and those are totally fine. Yeah. Yours are more intrinsic. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to beat the old version that couldn't do these things. And it sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, some of those heavier lifts might cause some fear.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of having that fear beat me. And this is coming from the mental health person, right? The psychology person, right? And so I want to do this for my family. I want to do this for my daughter and represent and lead. Those are huge whys. And the smaller ones are important as well. But with my athletes, and they use this tool, you go through and you write all those down. Like I can go through and until the planner came out, I'm just using a tiny little journal for the swim I have going on. And I got my whys written right there. Cool. Prove I'm still going. I'm going strong at 50. This is a case study for this whole show. Right? These are some things I'm doing. I want to improve my capacity, my health. I always admired working with the Navy SEALs now that I can't. But then the ones that are starred, Jack, Maddie, and Sam, Jen, my wife, doing it for God, right? So they're all written right there. And so when you talk about losing your motivation some days, you go back and remind yourself, and you're like, oh, well, shit, here you go. All right, so I want to get stronger, and I want to work on the upper body gymnastics.
Yep.
Then I'm going to ask you, because it's all about intrinsic and finding your identity and get inside of you emotionally, right? Like, who are you, right? what do you stand for? And so if you go like, you don't have to do this, but I walk people through this on page 14. Like I can tell people what my core values are. But now that I know where you want to go, I have to ask you what your core values are. And then the reason behind that is when you say these 3, 4, 5, 6 words, those words hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to ask you, what core values do you have? And you're going to tell me.
All right. Well, number one is my faith.
Great.
So the biggest thing that drives me in life is that.
Okay.
is everything that I do it for the glory of God. And
Great.
So when it comes to like these goals, they kind of, I don't know, when you look at them on paper, it's like, okay, what does that have to do with it? But also I think part of it is, I don't know, we can go further into that, I guess. Faith is one of my core values.
Any others? Something you want to be known for, something that helps guide and push you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, disciplined.
Yep.
I think is
I kind of figured you would say that one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
If it's just 2, that's fine.
I have one more, probably. I do. I have one more. It's the teamwork aspect.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do it alone.
Gotcha. So we had one guy on the podcast, and he says he's the hands and feet of God. You want to represent and be the best version, and because he's doing it for him. So whether you're a faith person or not, you're trying to do this to represent God, but you're also doing it for your teammates, and that's your family teammates, and those in the gym, right? So you're doing it for something that's within you, but also beyond you a little bit, and then the discipline component, right? So if I show up every day and I'm thinking I'm doing this for my friends and family, I'm doing this for myself to be disciplined, I'm doing this for my faith. Well, when you stop doing those things, when you stop showing up, when you stop the things you need to do, you realize you're breaking those core values, and it hurts, right? So these are the things that help keep you accountable. As for your targets, this is where we get a little bit more specific, right? These are actually like tangible targets. So if you're a 100-pound squatter, you might say, I want to be a 200-pound squatter. But so let's just stick with one area. You said lower body strength. Do you have any specific targets, lower body, 1 or 2, for the rest of 2025?
I want to squat over 200.
Okay. Anything else?
Deadlift over 300.
Okay.
Those would be the main 2. Just to kind of, measurable goals. Yeah.
So then once we find out where you want to be in the next 12 months, those are your targets, right? Then I will start walking you through the 6 blocks with Athlete Builder. So that's their mindset. What's the mindset got to be to build this piece? And that part of that mindset is handling the fears. Then there's the knowledge that goes along with lifting heavier weights, right? And then there's the team component, being coachable and working with those folks that can help get you there. Then there's got to eat differently, got to train differently, got to train heavier sometimes. And then there's recovery. Like, how do you recover from this stuff? So what I do is I teach the athletes, hey, these are the 6 blocks. And then I give out this test. And this test could be applicable for yourself. Or if you're on a team sport, let's say you're playing basketball, you take this test versus your other teammates. If you're trying to be the starting point guard in basketball, you work with your coach and you have them, hey, let's talk to me about mindset versus the other players. How can I get better there? You kind of grade yourself, right? Because you're measuring everything. But if you don't do that, you don't have to take the test. That's fine. This is just for you. And then from there, I just walk you through. All right, so let's talk about 200-pound back squat. Squatting, what are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? All right, so I'm going to ask you of those 6 components, mindset, whatever, training. Let's just talk about training, one of the 6. And I'm going to say, what are your strengths in your training with your squat? Okay. What are you good at?
I have a really good routine walking up to the bar.
Okay.
And
anything else?
I have very good, the technique seems to be there.
Right.
But I lose it when I get heavy. And I think a lot of it is fear. So we'll probably get there in a minute.
Okay. So
But I do,
weaknesses
yeah,
would be the fear of the lift.
yeah.
Okay. And then
Yeah, go ahead.
keep going. Any other strengths?
Well, it's funny. I keep thinking of strengths and weaknesses at the same time. I'm focusing on strengths. Yeah, I mean, those are the main things. I have a good routine walking up to the bar,
And form's good.
and my form is good.
And then weaknesses, you're a little afraid of it.
I'm afraid of it.
Anything else?
And I would say my midline strength is lacking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity is going to be, hey, if my squat goes up, then I have a better foundation. I'm more competitive. The opportunity is I can compete more, right? The opportunity is that your clean could go up, right?
Yeah.
Your snatch could go up. Those are the opportunities. The threats are if you're brand new and you don't have a very good squat, well, you're going to have a weak lower body, fall, break a hip, etc. You're not healthy. That is a weakness, right? That's not in this case, but that could be. For you, the main weakness is, the main threat is if you don't do these things, you're going to stop progressing in a lot of ways in CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That's been the problem. I've plateaued.
Right. So that is the threat. So you identify these things. Your routine, we want to keep smashing that. That's how you're going to beat other folks or beat the old version of yourself. The weaknesses, what's holding you back. So then we work on that, and then that brings you up, right? So I walk you through that, and then one of the pages, I think it's like on, I don't know, page 38, we just write a summary of everything on all 6 areas. So on squatting, here's what we're good at. So then it comes down to what habits do we need to do? What do we actually need to do, right?
Yeah.
So if it's fear or if it's the squatting days, well, one of the habits is you can't miss a leg day, right?
Yeah.
So Mondays and Thursdays has to be locked in.
Write that one down. Yeah.
What are other habits? So habit number 2 is going to be you can't miss accessories.
Right.
Number 3 is going to be you have to learn how to PR and be relentless in PRing your accessories. Shorter, smaller movements, less risk. You build up the small components to your squat goes up.
Yeah.
Number 4, you be very specific with your accessories. So if your midline is an issue, we program your accessories to be more midline. That's the weakness. Then you have to improve. You start scheduling these things. Some of these things you can work on outside of leg day. So you can work on your midline multiple days a week because it recovers so quickly. So we start mapping out your habits, and your squat's going to go up. How do you actually deal with the fear? A couple ways. The whole fake it until you make it. How do I do that? I'll listen to something that's motivational on the way to the gym, right? Something that kind of gets you kind of pumped up, right? Some people use music, some people don't. 2, I want to make sure my focus is locked in. I'm not so if you talk to folks that knew when I was really lifting, or my wife, and it's a heavy day, she's like, man, don't fucking talk to him. Don't talk to him, right? Or if I'm walking by and I'm pacing and my head's down, because I'm just thinking about this next set.
Yeah.
So if your focus is lacking on those days and you're chatty Cathy, well then the intensity is going to struggle. It's not going to be there. And to be able to flip that switch and be really intense, some can do that, some not so much. I couldn't. So I'm intense the whole session until that's over with. I'll be thinking about the day before sometimes, right? Oh man, it was 500 last week. I know next week it's 510. Shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to take away the risk as well. You have good spotters. You know, the spotters are trained. The safeties are there, right? But we also know with the coaches, and you said you want to be coached, you want to make sure that you're brought up to the point where you're nearing failure, but definitely not over that, because that's when injuries go through the roof.
Yep.
So you set the safeguards up. You're very intentional. And if we know that we have a good routine and we have good form, all you do is lock in on that process and then execute, so that when you're there and I'm coaching you or whatever someone else is, and the 1Q is X, it's brace or it's drive or whatever, you agree on that. So in between sets, you're locked in on that 1Q, that one drive. So your focus is there. Your energy goes where your focus goes where your energy goes. That's right. Your focus goes where your energy goes. So you're focusing on that 1Q, all other thoughts out the window, breathing technique on point, and then you start putting on heavier weights, and you're like, bam, did it. Confidence up. Next time you're asked to do a heavier weight, confidence up again, because you're relying on all these components, right? So that's just working on the training piece for one of your physical goals, which is lower body strength. What we do with the plan in the book is, if you have other goals, you walk through the same process. If one of your limiting factors is your mindset, we walk you through the same process. If it's your nutrition, we walk you through the same process. And then it's just a regular planner for your work. You open up to the days, you put in your targets, you put in your habits, and then you check the box. Did I do these things this day? Yes. Check, check, check. I got 4 out of 5 checks today. Perfect, right? Tomorrow, I want to get 5 out of 5. Can I maintain 5 out of 5 for 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, a week, 2 weeks, right? How many boxes can you check? Like, you like that.
I love that.
What that does, it gives you so much confidence.
Yeah.
Man, I was doing 5 things right a week ago. Now I'm doing 17 things right. And a month later, doing 37 things right. Like, all day long, you're getting all these wins. So you're like, well, shit, man, I'm progressing. And that creates that motivation. Like, hey, by and large, every time you come to the gym on Mondays, it's going to be a PR if we're doing things correctly. Because you won't see box squat for a 1 rep max for a long time.
Right.
So you'll see front squat, back squat, or 3 rep maxes, or blah blah blah. But you won't see it again for a while. So next time you come back, you should be in the habit of, man, it's PR day. Yeah. If I have to do these things, it's PR day. And that's the point of the planner in the book. And that's why we wanted to walk you through that today. And that's what we do. Right. Some context with Mary Tyson. She was the Olympic lifter I was telling you about.
Yep.
Outstanding, right? 5th in the world, right? Pan Am Games, gold medal, World Championships, silver medal, just outstanding, right?
Yeah, very impressive.
Here's what you need to know. Here's one of the components, right? And I find this more so with CrossFitters than others in this one piece. I'll ask her, hey, what do you clean? And so her best clean is mid 300s.
It's crazy.
358, right?
It's awesome.
For you, I'll ask you, what do you clean?
And you want me to answer?
Yeah, right?
So here's part of my problem, right?
Yeah.
My power clean is better than my squat clean.
See, that's where I was going to go, right?
Yep. So I can power clean like 170, I think was my last.
Right.
My last power clean. And my squat clean was maybe 150.
So you can't get out of the hole because you're not strong enough, right?
Right.
So she's a 350 clean and jerk.
Mm-hmm.
She's a 440 front squatter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And she's a 540 back squatter.
That's insane.
Right, but you see the margin there?
Yeah. Yeah.
The strength is definitely not the limiting factor.
Exactly.
If her technique is right, that won't be the limiting factor either. It'll be like her speed down. Can she catch the weight?
Mm-hmm.
But you give yourself so much margin.
Yeah.
Now, her coach, Will Fleming, outstanding, world-renowned coach, much older, right? Mm-hmm. Not nearly as thick and strong as he used to be, but he's still, relative to his old numbers, still moves huge weight. He's only off like maybe 15, 20%. And I go, how's that happen? Because he lost a lot of his strength. She goes, he has. However, his technique is flawless. Yeah. Mary's technique is not flawless. She would tell you that. She hits her positions decently, but not perfectly. Whereas Will, he lost his strength, but his competitive advantage is that he hits every position perfectly. His speed is perfect. So he can still move a bunch of weight because his technique is perfect. So, but to your point, you said, well, this is holding me back. Her numbers are decent and preferred ratios.
Yes.
So if you're a 100 front squatter, well, you should be like only a 75-pound, 70-pound cleaner, right? If you're a 200 front squatter, then maybe a 150 cleaner, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a 200 front squatter and you're cleaning 195, well, shit, you've maxed out.
Yeah.
You got everything out of your tank that you're going to get. There's nothing else to get. So that's the piece. That's the doing the things that, oh, shoot, this is holding me back, which I love that you figured that out. So then we address it and we move on. Yeah. Super easy that way. We'll say, well, how do you progress? This is the trick. This is how you do it. There's no other way around it. You got to find what's holding you back and fix it. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. And that was the point of today's exercise. So I hope that was helpful.
Very, and I'm excited.
So in terms of getting you stronger, that's one of my favorite things. So we'll definitely be talking about that
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
When you're training, what do you love to listen to?
Okay. I'll just go with it. I listen to worship music when I'm by myself.
Okay.
Yeah, keeps my heart rate down, which I
Okay.
like. When
All
I'm
right.
not by myself and I'm with a group of people, I will listen to literally anything.
Okay.
I'll listen to a podcast, country music, rock, rap. I don't care. I just need something there.
Gotcha. What's a bucket list adventure for you and your husband to do that you haven't done together ever?
We want to go to New Zealand.
Mm.
Yes. And I'm such a nerd, but I love Lord of the Rings. So I would love to go to some of the places where they filmed Lord of the Rings.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
You and I are the same person. Nope.
Yeah. Nope.
I love New Zealand too, but they have the All Blacks, which is the world's best ever sports team, and it's a rugby team.
Yeah.
So Jen and I are like, oh, it's going to be beautiful there, and we can go see like elite level rugby.
I mean, I would enjoy that too.
Sure.
You
But
know,
you're out
I
there
would.
looking for Gollum, right? Yeah, I got it. You got a favorite sports movie?
I don't. And I've thought about this, and I
Anything
don't have a
competitive
favorite.
at all? Nothing competitive?
I don't know. Oh, goodness.
All right.
Can I say the CrossFit documentaries? Does
All
that
right.
count?
Sure. Those are pretty sweet. And then Rogue does a bunch of things on CrossFit, Highland Games, stone lifting. They're just all
Yes.
about people doing things for strength and building themselves. So I watch all that crap. I love it.
Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite sport to watch?
CrossFit.
All right. And then athlete?
Rich Froning. I know it's like a cliche when it comes to CrossFit, but Rich Froning is just a solid guy, and he's made it to the top and has stayed humble. So I love that about him.
Rich at his best, Matt Frazier at his best. Who wins?
Oh man, I don't know. I love Rich, but I wonder if Matt Frazier would. He could maybe come out on top,
Is that your bet?
but Rich is still my favorite.
I think Frazier would win too. I think he's
Yeah.
just meaner, which I like.
Yes, I agree. There's something
Right.
something there that's a little meaner. Yeah.
How about a favorite book or one you could recommend since you like to learn?
Well, Atomic Habits. I heard you mention that earlier.
Yeah.
I've read through that book probably 3 times, just
Yep.
whenever I need to refocus. So
That was episode 8 for this podcast. I broke down every chapter and applied it to athletes.
it's awesome.
Do
It's a
you
good
have
book.
now superhero and supervillain? It could be fictional, like
Okay.
Lord of the Rings, or it could be nonfiction, as someone like in your life has impacted you.
Oh, goodness. I was going to say Spider-Man.
All right.
I just like that he's so quirky. I don't
Yeah.
know. Villain though, I don't have I could like make one up, but I really don't have a favorite villain.
I like Darth Vader. I like the Joker. I like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
I like
Those are good.
I like all the mafia movies with all of the gangsters. Those are villains. I like
Sure.
them. I like them too. So, what's your favorite lift?
The clean and jerk.
Gotcha.
Yep. Love it. Could do it all day.
Favorite way to train is CrossFit. Do you have a favorite quote?
Okay, so it's actually a Bible verse. My dad raised my family on it. It's 1 Corinthians 10:13. Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. I have it tattooed onto my ankle, actually.
Wow.
So
All right.
yeah. So everything I do, it's laser focused on
Okay.
the glory of God.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to reach out and connect?
Well, I have a Facebook and Instagram,
Okay.
Laurel_Jones.
All right.
Or I have a new email actually
All
with
right.
Unbreakable, Laurel at UAAteams.com. Those
Perfect.
would be the best ways. Yep.
Cool. It's been great having you on. So shout out Laurel, shout out the gym and Unbreakable Athletics, shout out Jocko Fuel. My Red Hydrate is probably my favorite, and I'm so glad we're working with them with the show. But I've been drinking for a while at the gym, and I just big believer in their philosophies, big believer in their products. So it's been good stuff.
Yes.
For
Good
those
stuff.
who have questions for us, they want to keep sending them in. info@athlete-builder.com. And then you can find the books on Amazon or the also at Barnes & Noble. You can find them there. And so, Laurel, great having you on the show. Thanks for being vulnerable and real with us. Thanks for your wisdom and willingness to help. And thanks for walking through the tutorial on how to be better. So it's really what we're about. And thanks for the time and thanks for the effort. It makes an impact. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. This was great. And I'm excited. I'm excited to apply all of this.
Okay.
Very much so. Yeah.
Well, I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
All right. Sounds
Have a good
good.
one. See ya.
Thanks.